Hi there, let's talk about curses and do shamans curse people? My name is John Moore and I am a shamanic practitioner and teacher from the state of Maine. I also have expertise in teaching spiritual protection, spiritual self-defense, spiritual hygiene, and I'm working on a book about it. So let's get into this. One of the reasons I bring this up is there does seem to be this idea out in the world that shamanic people do not curse. I don't mean not swearing, because many of us swear. I swear, just not in my YouTube videos too much, or with clients, but that's not the type of cursing I'm talking about. So in this, I'm going to define the terms as I use them. I do this in a lot of my videos. This is not to say my definition is the right definition, as if there were one, or that you should adopt my definition. I define what I'm talking about so that you have a better understanding of what I mean when I talk about curses. What kinds of things are curses? So let's talk about curses. Let's talk about the idea that shamans do or do not curse. I will talk about cursing in indigenous cultures. I will talk about cursing with, non-indigenous shamanic practitioners, what's going on there, what to expect. And I might delve a little bit into some self-protection things that you can do for curses, but that is a very broad, very large topic that I teach entire courses around. So there's only so much we can do in one short video. But let's get to the bottom of it. So when I talk about a curse, I am talking about an action meant to cause harm to someone, some other being, through spiritual methods. It's a very broad topic and a very broad definition, and it covers a lot of different types of activities, but it is necessarily broad because cursing comes in so many different flavors, and people have been cursing each other since the beginning of time. We have curse tablets we have dug up in long dead languages from different archaeological digs and that sort of thing. So cursing was a pretty common way to attack other people when you couldn't do so physically or by any other means. And the practice of cursing goes on today. There are a lot of people who do curse, in some traditions. So thinking of hoodoo and voodoo and Santeria and some of these other, spiritual systems and religions that came out of cultures that were oppressed, cursing or doing attack magic of some sort was one of the ways that they could protect themselves. And so it's kind of understandable when you see it from that perspective. So my definition is necessarily broad and it covers a lot of things. There are some gray areas here, right? Because there are types of energetic attacks which are spiritual based and meant to do harm to somebody else, and they can be inadvertent. There can be inadvertent energy attacks on people, energy vampirism, evil eye kinds of things. And they can cause real damage, and they can be something that somebody doesn't intend. Is that a curse? We could probably debate that for a week and not get a answer that everybody would agree on. But what I'm talking about is when somebody sits down or stands or whatever they do to do an overt act that is meant to cause harm to somebody else based on, using spiritual means of attack. So it is a spiritual attack, curses. And curses are insidious because they can be hard to detect, hard to track down. They can do real damage. They can do damage that shows up on the physical plane in unexpected ways. So they can cause physical health problems. They can cause disruptions in relationships. They can cause you to be bound. A binding might be a type of curse if we think about it that way. So let me examine why people might not use cursing. And I know I have a lot of friends who are Wiccan, and in the Wiccan Rede there is the phrase, "And it harm none, do what thou wilt." So there's an ethos around not using magic to harm other people. Many people believe in this threefold rule, that the energy you send out comes back to you 3 times over, and if you curse people, you're going to be cursed 3 times over. That is a nice idea that helps people think about behaving in ethical ways. In truth, that is a very modern concept that is not as widespread as we would think, and I don't have any proof that that is a real thing, because honestly, if that were real, there would be people just dropping dead from casting curses on others. There are very skilled practitioners who can cause enough physical harm to somebody that, and I will never get into teaching how that happens, but can cause severe physical harm to somebody else. So we think about curses as attack and causing harm, and so ethically it's very easy for us to wrap our brain around the idea that curses are bad, curses are evil, curses are not something that people should do. However, I find that black and white ethics, black and white morality kind of breaks down pretty quickly when we examine ethical dilemmas in areas that are not as black and white or clear. And I'll give you an example. So a practitioner I know, not a shamanic practitioner, but somebody who practices magic, was contacted by somebody who was being physically stalked. And everything this person had done had not stopped the stalker from calling the police and getting restraining order and all of these things. And it was becoming physically threatening. And so this person cast some magic, and I won't describe what that is, but this stalker was climbing up a ladder to enter the person they were stalking's house, and fell off and broke their leg, and then were caught by the police and subsequently arrested. What did that magic cause some harm? Well, we think so. We think that maybe the fall was a result of the magic, but let's say it was. Was this a bad or evil action? We could debate that, right? We could debate, is causing physical harm to somebody who's stalking a bad thing? We don't know what this person was intending to do when they climbed through that person's window. Were they going to harm that innocent person? Were they going to kill that innocent person? Were they going to sexually assault that innocent person? So maybe a broken leg was the lesser of evils here. Okay. A lot of actions that we do have negative repercussions on other people, even when that is not the intention. So if I were to use shamanic journeying, for example, to get the leg up on finding a job, let's say I was looking for a job and I performed a shamanic journey to say, where should I look? And I got an idea of where and when to look, and something what to do, and that gave me a leg up, and I got a job from that. Well, if I get that job, I'm taking that opportunity away from other people. Is that harm? Is that using spiritual means to cause harm? Well, it wasn't the intention, but depending upon the perspective that somebody is using, I guess you could look at that and say that there was a harm. Was it a huge harm? Probably not. Was I intentionally targeting an individual to cause them harm? Probably not. So the ethics of cursing and using spiritual means to manifest and create an ends to a means and that sort of thing, there's a lot of black and white area out there. And that is uncomfortable for a lot of people who want to say there's white magic and there's black magic. There's good and evil, and there's this and there's that, and there's nothing in between. There's very limited thinking, and you're not doing yourself any favors cognitively other than it is easier. It is easier to think of things as bad, good. It is. It's much easier to put things into those two little boxes than to have shades of gray and have to look at things and have to spend time thinking about the repercussions of our actions. So let me get down to brass tacks here a little bit and talk about shamans who curse. And if you couldn't tell, if you couldn't tell already, no matter what people tell you, this is a thing that happens. Most shamanic practitioners who come out of similar training to myself do not do curses. It's not part of the training. There are some defensive methods that we learn, but actually cursing other people is not something that we learn, and it is unethical, and your helping spirits may refuse to work with you if you're doing cursing, unethical cursing. Can be some real repercussions to doing dastardly deeds. But that being said, there are people who do. And I have been targeted by another practitioner. I had a relationship with another practitioner that ended poorly. This person also happens to inherit some, cursing ability from ancestors, very close ancestors, like grandmother level ancestors. And when all of this happened, a bunch of really bad things, when the rupture in the relationship happened, a lot of bad things happened to me and to people around me. And I said, I think this person is cursing me. And I got some information on my own about it and did some protective measures. But I really wanted to be sure because I felt like being really close to this event and having a really negative feeling about it might be clouding my judgment a little bit. And so I actually went to two practitioners of other arts who did readings of people. One was a really well-known hoodoo practitioner, and the other one was doing some card reading for me. And the first one, not the famous hoodoo practitioner, but the person who's doing card reading, I explained the situation. I said, there's this person who's a shamanic practitioner. All these things are happening to me, and I think there might be some curse activity going on. And I just want you to either, confirm and say, yes, there is, and potentially give me some solutions for that, or say, no, these are just coincidences, or there's something else going on. She at first responded to me. She goes, oh, shamanic practitioners, they don't curse other people. They're like peace-loving hippies. And, she had some impression about what shamanic practitioners were like. And certainly there are shamanic practitioners who are peace-loving hippies. I am not a particularly hippie person, though I am peace-loving. But not everybody is love and light in the shamanic community, for sure. And this person especially not. But she did the reading for me, and she got a definite yes answer. She knew what she knew about some very personal details about this person that I had not given her, that were confirming it for me, and the method of cursing that this person used, so that I understood how the curse had happened and I could take care of it. And it was what I expected. The mechanism, there's always a mechanism in cursing. There's a way that the curse is carried, implemented, energized, all of these things. And there are some really common methods of cursing. And this happened to be one of them that I suspected. And this person confirmed all of this without me giving her any information. That not being enough, I got a second reading from this person who is a well-known hoodoo practitioner and author and all this stuff. And I got on the phone with her and said, I'm going through all this stuff and I think somebody's cursing me. And she's like, yes, absolutely yes. I don't have to do the reading. I will do the reading, but I don't have to. I can tell you that this is going on. I can tell you what this person did. And she confirmed everything for me and gave me some methods for combating some of what was going on and moving on and that sort of thing. So, absolutely, there are shamanic people who do curse. Even though that may not be part of their teaching, they might use their skills to enhance other abilities. So they might be learning cursing from somewhere else and implementing that. And it's very easy to learn cursing. There are books on it and stuff like that. Really, really powerful cursing ability tends to be either inherited or something you have to work at for a really long period of time. That being said, let me talk a little bit about some indigenous cultures, and I will go back to this incident as well, but I want to, talk about there are some indigenous cultures where competing shamans, regularly attack each other spiritually. They regularly travel in the spirit world, throw energy darts at each other, and try to attack each other. I think that's a really lousy idea. I think it's a terrible idea to get into magical warfare with people. As it is to constantly be in physical fights with people. Eventually, you're going to get hurt, even if you get one over on the other guy. Or eventually, people are going to seek revenge, or people who love that person are going to come after you. All of these things can happen in the spiritual realms as well as they can happen in the physical realms. So, while I think it's a lousy idea, that doesn't prevent it from happening. And these cursing and magical attacks in these cultures go back to prehistory. So, these are things that are taught, learned, and inherited along very, very, very long lines. So, the idea that shamans don't curse is not true. It just doesn't happen to be true. I do understand where it comes from, and most shamanic practitioners I know do not curse other people. And I know a lot of other shamanic practitioners. They would never think of cursing other people. But, this person may not be well and may have issues that they're not dealing with and may not have a good ethical compass to rely upon. So, I took care of my issues with this person, and I'm constantly, because I teach spiritual self-defense, I'm constantly re-implementing my defenses and taking care of myself and that sort of thing. So I'm not too worried about it, and the negative things that I was experiencing stopped. And there were many, and they were extending out to not just me, but other people in my life. Really strange occurrences happening. But I have talked to two other acquaintances who have been acquainted with this person, who have crossed her in some imagined way. I mean, I can assure you they didn't cross her in any real way, but they have crossed her, and have both reported to me feeling spiritual attacks from this person. So it's not just me. She's she had been spreading the love, but these people are able to protect themselves as well. So it's kind of futile. Not kind of futile. It is completely futile. The things that this person is doing, and they are intentional. It's not an unintentional thing where she's just angry and things are happening that she's not expecting. So I just want I want to talk a little bit about cursing and maybe some things you can do for protection. There's a lot. And I like a multi-layered approach to spiritual protection, meaning I am going to take care of my body, mind, and spirit. I'm going to take care of the environment that I live in, and I'm going to work on detecting things when they happen. It's the same thing with computer systems, right? To secure a computer network, for example, you set up network protection, but then you put antivirus software on all the computers in the network. And then you also set up ways to detect when hacking is happening and bad things are happening in the network. And so that is a very similar model to what I use with spiritual protection. You know, and again, it's a lot. There's a lot to it, and I teach whole courses on it. But something you can do for yourself that ups your spiritual protection, and I liken this to what you do with your physical body, is that you have a spiritual immune system, which includes your aura and keeping your aura clean. But this is also means taking care of your body and making sure you have energy, because if you're eating junk food and not sleeping enough and not getting exercise and you're feeling low, it's going to be harder for your energy systems, like trying to take care of your body. It's going to be harder for it to fend off attacks. It's sort of like if you get overtired and you're eating like crap, your body becomes susceptible to infection, right? To catching a cold or catching the flu or catching COVID. So those are things that you want to do. You want to take care of your, what I call spiritual hygiene. So take care of your body, take care of your mind. Okay, keep your mind sharp any way you can. Do puzzles, do Wordle, do Sudoku, but keep your mind sharp. Avoid, like if you're really worried about this, I would avoid mind altering chemicals, like particularly alcohol. Alcohol dulls the senses and really represses things. It pulls your aura in and makes it sort of chaotic, and that leaves openings for bad juju to come through. That is one layer. But spiritual hygiene also includes taking care, so body, mind, and then spirit. And so the things you can do for this spirit level are, practice your meditation daily, keep your altar up, whatever it is you do for spiritual activity, make sure you have a daily spiritual practice that enlivens you, that makes you feel better when you do it. Don't meditate in a way that feels lousy every time you do it and you hate doing it. Do spiritual activities that you look forward to, that bring you energy and peace and comfort and all of those things. And you will be building up your spiritual defense system. And then if you do find yourself in really worried about potentially being cursed, and like a whole slew of bad things are happening to you all at once, check in with a professional, check in with a practitioner who specializes in cursing. Doesn't necessarily have to be a shamanic practitioner, but it could be, and it could, as long as the practitioner is experienced with curses. But you can also check in with somebody who is a practitioner of Wicca. I would go with somebody who has lots of experience, because curses are complicated, or somebody who practices hoodoo or some other folk magic form like that has experience in dealing with curses. So that is a little bit about shamans and curses and casting and throwing curses at people and attack magic and defense and all of that stuff. I will most likely do more videos about this topic and topics associated with it, because it's way more prevalent than people assume it is and want to believe it is. And so it's my aim to help people take care of themselves, but also to put out the best knowledge I possibly can. So be sure to subscribe to this channel. You can check out my website. There are lots of resources there as well, and I will talk to you real soon.